And I've been trying to impress upon Miak when he is going back to PSR, the Pacific School of Theology, where it has one of the important centers of gay and lesbian studies, that this is his responsibility and a primary responsibility to come back and tell us what this queer theology is. Those of us who are straight cannot do it with full legitimacy. You as a queer person will have to define what is the Christian faith to you from your perspective as one of the marginalized groups in our society, and that has been done and gained respect throughout the years in all the other marginalized societies. We embrace inclusivity, not only in terms of our sexual questions, but in terms of our faith. We allow the Spirit to lead us to develop this kind of a theology. It is the willingness to open ourselves in spite of our differences. It is the willingness to embody the difference peculiar to us, out of where we are, of who we are. We draw out the implications of the Christian faith in all aspects of Christian life. This is the unique responsibility that God has placed us to develop the queer theology in our time. What do we see in theology? Not clinging to the old and fearful of the new, thinking that what is old and tested has universal appeal. In the words of an old hymn, new occasions teach new duties, and time makes ancient good uncouth. Not all things old are good. Not all people old are wise. We have to relate our faith to our time because we have new occasions, we have a new context, and the Bible has not declared too clearly about our present context. The knowledge that we have, the information that we have received, and much more will come in this age of information technology. We have to look at all these things and develop our response in faith to the God who is responsible for all. In this series, you have heard about the varieties of religious experience. William James has a classic book written at the turn of the century, of the 20th century, in 1902, entitled The Varieties of Religious Experience. He was describing all the traditional beliefs and systems and spiritual exercises. We have far more today, and we have to update and recognize the varieties of religious experience that exist in which is part of your own life. We have broadly been exposed to the classical spiritual disciplines, including prayer, meditation, contemplation, and silence. We have our quiet time and reading the Bible. We engage in regular prayer and worship. Through all these pious acts and religious practices, most of us still feel undernourished, uncomfortable. The problem is for us to exercise the real discipline, the more severe discipline of examining what we do now and how important and relevant it is for us today, so that we have the right approach in the development of our mind, body, and spirit. Often, we take the easy way out and let God do it. And we just wait and let it happen. But most of the time, it does not happen. Christ, for 2,000 years, have been waiting for something more important to happen than what is occurring today in our midst. So what do we see in theology? Sometimes we see theology as if it is talk. We must see it in terms of walk. What do we see in prayer? Do you ever stop to realize when we are asked to pray, how do we put our words together? And what do we pray for? Most of the time we pray as if God does not know our need. As I reflect upon my own prayer life when I was young and struggling like you, of course there are many needs and there are a long list of prayers. And I try to pray, to ask God to respond to my need and wait. It happens sometimes mysteriously. Most of the time, nothing happens. Of course, we have excused that unanswered prayer is also the answer of God. Well said, easily said. We list all our petitions to God. Name them one by one. And actually leave no time or space for God to speak to us. We're so busy talking to God, we don't know what God is saying because we are really not interested. We are just telling God what to do and we leave it. When you pray, please take note who you are addressing your prayer. Stop, be silent, and listen what God is saying to us. I suspect that most of our time we're very self-centered, superficial, going through the act of prayer. God knows your needs before you utter a single word. The Bible is very clear. Even your very hairs on your head, if you have them unnumbered. Need I quote the many biblical texts about our all-knowing God? In the story of the prayer of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, he was accompanied by Peter, James, and John, his favorite disciples. I don't need to read about that experience, but merely to say that Jesus was sorrowful, distressed, troubled, and crying with the expectation of his impending crucifixion. And finally saying with faith and letting go, not as I will, but thou wilt. So often in our prayers we try to bend the will of God to our own private will. We pray, thy will be changed, instead of thy will be done. What do we see in prayer? Do not pray as if God does not know, who has a touch of Alzheimer does not remember.